Hey, welcome back, folks. We just finished taking a tour of the Holt State House with committee rooms and the cafeteria, and now we've regrouped to continue our conversation and finish up our work for the afternoon. Tricia asked if we could put up on the screen the configuration of the cafeteria that's with the committee rooms, correct, Tricia?
That's correct. So this is again from past work.
You've got to come up because folks on
I'm sorry.
YouTube can't hear you.
So this again is Tricia Harper again. This is from a proposal made in 2006 when the Feingold Alexander plan got pared down to just putting an addition over the cafeteria. And the cafeteria being placed on the third floor and the committee rooms going on the second floor.
So Mike is trying to find this, correct?
Which one is it's the previous?
The one I scanned for you, this had Tony scanned for you this morning.
Oh, yeah.
On our
At
webpage?
9:30.
Yeah, it's on our webpage.
On the web-
Oh, so it's not in anything we have.
It is, but it's easier if you go to our committee webpage for today's date.
Okay.
I'm gonna put that up right now, Tricia. You know what page you want me to look at?
Let's go past the memo, go to the first, and this just talks about the cost of it. And, you know, but these are old numbers, so 6 million was the total on that. All right, so this first floor and the mezzanine pretty much stay the same in this plan, except for the stair on the far.
Now, we're not architects. We're not used to looking at blueprints. So I just want to put that out there.
Okay.
for folks.
Sorry, which,
So,
Online, committee webpage.
so you can see the stair that I was talking about earlier. As a means of egress needing to come out of there. But this pretty much stays the same, except for the stair.
So that's the floor where the committee rooms would be, correct?
Now, this is the first floor. So now let's go up to the second floor.
First floor has what right now?
This is
The
where she's,
first
yep.
floor has nothing has changed. Legislative lounge, all the Senate committee rooms stay the same. Coat room stayed the same. Everything is as it is now. Pro Tens is still here. Infirmary is there. So they created, they changed the parking and the loading configuration docks, and then they're talking about, you know, doing something in the courtyard here as far as just showing some more graphic paving in there.
So this is the Feingold.
This is the Feingold from 2006 when we pared back the project to just be the addition over the cafeteria.
so there's no more lovely visitor center entrance on the right.
Now, this is bare bones. This is just building up this area back here.
Got it.
Could be. You could have, you know.
Basically what Freeman drew.
So go ahead and, this is existing plan pretty much. Can we
Yeah,
get the
you're
next
right.
one?
It's sort of
A2?
similar.
If you look at the second.
All right, so here's A2. This is the second floor cafeteria where it exists right now, becoming committee rooms. So these committee rooms, as we talked about. Yeah, oops,
Sorry, I'm trying to,
Oh, man.
that's okay.
trying to get the best of you I can.
Okay, the two committee rooms, you know, the
Tear
six
down the
committee
walls.
rooms in the 30s got turned to 4 committee rooms is what that was about. And then, so this shows 1 committee room, 2 committee rooms, the one that Alice was saying earlier, the chair was saying, this is the size, this is 500 square feet. And I was measuring column to column as 400 square feet. But, and then this one is 500, 475, 491. Speaker's office stays the same. So you get one. This is a big one, 647. Again, this one could be made bigger though.
So
This
how many
size,
have we got there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
There, 6.
6. Yep, 6. So that would be,
There are 6
the
committee
floor
rooms
is
on the
4.
second floor now.
and 4 on
And then
the
4.
we are at 10, and then you've got 4 upstairs.
Left is that kitchen, the curved kitchen.
one on the left there,
Which is
Tricia.
currently the kitchen, yeah.
And then upstairs, you would have
Like,
where GovOps, where
scroll
healthcare,
down a little bit more, please, Michael. Thank you, right there. See the four,
Yeah, and then you'd have 4 committee rooms up above
and then you
on the
have
3rd floor.
the room where I said that the walkway is gonna go across. They've created 3 meeting rooms off of there. So like Teresa's office is sort of where that first one is.
Right, so there'd be 3 next to each other so that we could meet have private meetings and things.
have 4, because energy and
Right,
technology would be converted. over.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, what a nice idea. And this is sort of similar in both plans.
And there's this,
Yeah.
yes, they are similar in both plans. And you know, we were talking about the roof out there and you can see that they had that spine. They only do half of that clear story skylight along that edge. And it's still leaving the speaker's roof free. It's not encompassing touching the speaker's roof.
So this is the 3rd floor now.
This is the 3rd floor, correct?
So this would be the new cafeteria.
It's over, there's an overhang on it too, so they built it out further. This is the old footprint here, comes around here, here,
Right.
this is down below. And then the speakers jumps back, so this is quite a cantilever over the speaker's window. A little bit of cantilever here, no cantilever there. So this is like, if you looked up, you'd see a ceiling on the 2nd floor. You'd see the bottom of the floor. And this is projected out quite a bit. So the Ethan Allen room would be tucked in a bit. So that was a bit of a concern because of the light might be less.
So is the kitchen and the serving area the same size there as it is right now?
It's bigger, but it may not be a lot bigger, if I'm remembering.
That's what I'd like to look at. It's 660 square feet of serving area. Oh, square feet of kitchen.
Right.
And before we had on our existing kitchen,
I don't know that we'd get much more seating in the actual cafeteria though for
It looks like a lot.
It's like 100 and
right now.
square feet on the kitchen,
Oh, so it's more kitchen.
but from 781 to 935. Serving is the same. And the seating went up by a lot.
yeah.
See, I'm sorry, what did you say, Steve, about the seating?
I was just reading what Tricia had done
Yeah.
there.
On this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was 781 square feet in the existing, the kitchen. Back of house, BOH, and then, this is not shown what I've shown on here, on this fine gold comparison, because they only had 925, and they bumped that up another 300 square feet on this. And then the serving area they had at 665, that's the same all the way across the board. But granted, that doesn't mean this wall has to go right here if you need a bigger serving area. There's flexibility there. Again, this is
But if your seating area has gone up, you're gonna have more people going through that serving area.
it needs to be bigger,
And I'm concerned the kitchen right now isn't big enough.
right? The kitchen went up 500 square feet.
Yeah, the
here.
kitchen will be quite a bit bigger.
Oh, wait, no,
No, it
400, 420.
Do we necessarily need the Ethan Allen room?
Where's the kitchen on this? I see cafeteria, BOH, cafeteria is serving and seating. Where's the kitchen?
Cafeteria is the, you mean where the kitchen is? I'm sorry, Alice, is
Yeah.
781. That's the back of house.
Right, that only went from, so the kitchen and up from 781 to about 900 plus square feet.
But on this plan, it's up to 1,200.
It's not on that chart, I
Okay.
don't think.
This was the comparison of the other plan from '04. This is '06.
Oh, all right, so this is 04. And the serving area in the 04 was the same, basically is what it is now. Hasn't really changed
But then
much.
again, that could, that this space calling serving kitchen could be designed by they're kitchen consultants that actually do these designs. And
So with the actual seating, Trish, for the cafeteria then, do you think it would increase that much?
yes, it was, yeah. Because the seating went from 3,000, well, it's gross. I don't know what the seating is there on that. But yes, it's significant. This is it's the speaker's office is down below. This print
Oh, I see,
here
okay.
takes up the Ethan Allen room a bit and extends the kitchen out beyond. So this is cantilevered out again. If you're standing on the second floor looking up, you'll see the kitchen overhead.
So Butch,
So my question is, because we have provided some sort of a private dining room on the right, which doesn't necessarily have to be a private dining,
Right.
do we really need the area above the kitchen shown now as another private dining room? Or
That's,
could it become part of the kitchen serving area? Or do we need,
oh, it's a
even
nice
need that,
space.
even, do we
It's a-
even need
it's a
that
gorgeous
cantilever at all?
Yeah, that's a nice space. So
why
you
don't you
could
just
open this
extend
up.
the seating to the right where that meeting room is? Above, wait a minute, that's what I want to clarify. To the right where you see that table with the chairs around it, is that the speaker's office or is that above?
It's above the speaker's office. It's above the speaker's office. There's the line of the speaker's office below. And-
All right,
And this
So
is,
it's bigger.
and this is sort of a private dining space, is that the idea?
Well, that's one of the concepts. Again, these are concepts.
Right.
I think you're getting into the weeds a little bit on this.
No, we don't
It's
want.
just showing you that there's 9,000 square feet up
Got
here
it.
that you can create a kitchen out, a kitchen cafeteria area.
I asked
compared to
that,
the Before.
And I asked that question because just thinking construction costs, not doing a lot of cantilevering or any of those other things, following the existing building lines right straight to the new.
You'd have less space.
You do sacrifice some space, but what such space would we be sacrificing? Well, that's not a fair question now.
You'd sacrifice quite a bit of space, Chuck. I mean, Butch, it would,
That's not an answer to either one.
yeah. Butch, I think you, because you could see how much you'd lose.
Yeah.
You could see the outline.
okay, yeah, I'm
Is
trying
it
to
okay?
tie up, I'm trying to tie this up. People are,
Okay, that's another
people are
another
starting
day.
out,
Chris.
Just wondering,
Don?
the room there to the right of the kitchen, what is that? It's unlabeled.
well, where,
At the
top of the
stair, it looks-
kitchen or the right of the?
It's a stairway.
To the right of the kitchen, is it?
Oh, to the right of the kitchen.
Serving line?
Serving area,
No, back above that.
that's like a new Ethan Allen room.
Here, John?
No,
No, he's talking right below it.
up,
Up.
Made your finger up there.
Oh, probably the officer,
Thank you.
I guess.
Part of the kitchen.
Again, it's one of those,
Thank you.
if you just look at the mass of the area, if someone was given this plan and the consultant, what they would do with the kitchen serving area design is really what you'd want, the expertise on that.
What I'm picking up from the committee, from what we talked about this morning, that we are looking at making a recommendation for the expansion. At this point, that we really, first off, we need to figure out more of our program, space needs for our committees, seating capacity, whatever. And figuring that we would need about 1 to 1.5 million to get us through the programming schematic and possibly into a program design document, possibly. And to expedite that, we're looking at possibly making a recommendation that the money be appropriated through the general fund budget adjustment process. Okay?
Yes.
And where the pot of money comes from, we're not gonna get into, because, but at least get through the recommending budget adjustment process, general fund. Our recommendation at this point would be that we would build a floor on top of the cafeteria. If we do any expansions on either side, maybe down the road, but we build the infrastructure. And when we put that other floor on top of the cafeteria, we build the infrastructure so it can accommodate some expansion on either side. Alice,
So I think that's what David and I were talking about is, I think you need to know what you're doing, the whole thing, before you just do one piece. I think I think that may be phase one, but I think it has to be designed in a totality so that we know what's coming when. So let's say our top priority is getting more committee space, so we might do phase one of this, but phase two is the visitor entrance and more public space. Phase three is whatever it is. It may just be in two phases, but I would feel uncomfortable designing one element without signing the whole thing and committing to doing the whole thing, because after all, remember, we are where we are because we didn't commit to doing phase two. We only got phase one done. So I would really strongly, and I think David, if he was here, would say this, I think we want to design the total of what we're looking at and do it in one or two phases. And I can see doing it in one or two phases, but I really think we have to commit to doing the whole thing and having it designed in as a unity, as a unified, exciting 50-year vision forward.
other folks?
Sadly, we've lost four of our committee members. But I'm pretty sure David would echo that.
Yeah, and you know, if you're gonna create infrastructure for something else later, you have to have a concept of what that is.
What that is.
And, you know, I don't think you need to go to construction documents on this edition
Right.
of phase two.
Right.
But you need to be up to DD and you need to understand how everything goes together, which that is full plans scope. It tells you basically what your mechanical is going to be, but you're not saying, okay, this conduit goes this way, this duct goes.
Right,
this
but for us politically, I think you need to be able to sell the whole thing to the public, to the General Assembly, and so they can have a vision for what it will be, even if we're suffering through phase one. This, keep your eye on the prize. This is what it will look like when we're finished.
So that would be ideal, but the biggest challenge you're gonna have is going in front of, if everything stays tucked behind the State House, you're not gonna have an issue. If you go west, you go east, you see it from State Street, that's where it becomes more difficult to move forward.
If we avoided things that were difficult, we would do nothing in this building.
No, I bet that will be time, and if that time we'll stretch it out for another year, another 2 years, and then you'll lose your funding. So I worry, that's my only worry, is that it's gotta be.
I worry about us doing flip-flops to fit the funding. I understand the funding piece, I get it. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity, but I also know that if it matters, we'll find the funding in future. I mean, if we need to bond in the future, we'll do it. But I think I just don't think we want to design one piece of it without designing the whole thing and agreeing to do it in phases. I mean, I
I don't think you're saying anything different.
I don't even.
I think what you're saying is when you do the programming and the design documents and your schematic design and your program design, it includes a couple phases,
That's right.
okay? But for the documents that actually go out there for your bid for construction would be for your first phase,
That's correct.
which is basically at this point where we're at is the floor above the cafeteria. You move the kitchen, the serving area, and the seating up to that top floor. You convert the current cafeteria and kitchen serving area into committee rooms. And you tear down the walls in the 30s and 40s in those middle committees.
right.
That's where we're at. Now, if you do the full design for expansion on either side, then you might know when you're doing those schematic design and then your deeper design documents, then you know what infrastructure needs, mechanical, electrical, whatever would be needed, and you incorporate that within your construction documents for your first phase. That's the process, correct, Tricia?
Yes,
So I think the other thing I'm a little concerned about is we're already compromised on space for the staff. And we haven't talked about staff space and that, and I know we still need to do that. We've already seemed to have moved on some of the staff space, given Mike is here and not in his, that his office. So I think we also have to think about, as we do the program piece, that phase 2 incorporates more staff space, I believe, in the Feingold one anyway, and in the Freeman.
But we're not sure what's new that French Freeman didn't know about. And certainly Feingold is we now have 2 and 4 acres.
Right.
And there's still negotiations occurring with Ledge Council for 2 acres.
Right.
So if in the future, Ledge Council moves to 2 acre and we have the space at the mezzanine
That's right.
that could be used for something, not committee rooms because it's not structured that way, but maybe for something else.
offices or whatever.
Yeah, so that's a juggling point. And maybe some of the mezzanine, if the staff moves to 2 acre, they may need some office space here, the lawyers, as a base, a communal office space. So maybe the mezzanine gets converted to something like that. We don't know yet.
Touchdown space.
Right. And when we get back to the old coat room, then we've got that spot of legislative council open. But we don't know what we're gonna do with the courtyard because we don't know what the HVAC system is going to need and they may have to come out to the courtyard. So it's a chicken and egg situation right now on that piece. But our primary concern right now is a floor above the cafeteria would be the first step, the first priority. Move the whole cafeteria function up there, convert the current cafeteria space to committee rooms. But also look at incorporating what it would look like in phase 2 if you put additions on either side of the building. And you may not need those additions because we're going to be in a hybrid form for a long time and we just don't know what that's going to bring in. And if our staff moves to 2 acre, then you may not need that office space up there. So we have a lot of ifs up there and a lot of unknowns.
Right, but we'll still need improvement on accessibility, on visitor flow, on all that, and visitor entrance and, and unified entrance, which I know Matt would dearly love, all of us would love it. And just in terms long-term, it just, yeah. But
So this is where we are at this point, correct?
yeah,
So we are scheduled to meet again.
on the 18th, I think.
I hope it's later than that, but is it
Is it, I thought it was Monday, the 18th.
on a Monday? Do we still want to keep that meeting? And try to wrap this up? Yes,
Yes,
okay, 10 to 3?
or 9 to 2.
And
Ooh, wait a
3.
minute. 18th rings a bell or something.
That was the week we're supposed to be in session.
Yeah, no, it's something else.
We booked, this has been booked actually for a while though, I think. I mean, I know, because I
Yeah, I
have it in my
think you're
book.
right. That's probably what it's thinking of.
I've had this on the calendar for a while.
Yeah, we've had it,
Yeah,
For
I'm
Monday,
sorry.
so Ruth can make it.
Yeah.
For that. And we'll just continue this conversation. I mean, the agenda will
yeah,
be
because,
really firming up our recommendations.
and I think,
So the same folks who are here today would be great to come back. Laura, I think it's important if you can make that.
so could we draft out a timeline that we talked about earlier with a timeline with what we want in it, with the money timeline?
But the question is, who can do that?
Well,
That would be, I don't know, Tricia, if you can help with that, or Michael or Brady, or.
joint fiscal, Mike and Tricia, I think, are the keys to putting that together, but I think we need that for our next meeting.
So one thing I did want to mention though is, if the if you're able to get funding, the 1.5 million, I just want to make sure you said 1.5, right? That's a
Right.
good number, that's why. Because it's about 2 million to design this. We could, and you gotta figure out who's going to be in charge of this project. Is it going to be like Freeman was hired by the General Assembly, where it wasn't, they weren't hired by BGS. So is BGS going to be in charge of this or whatever? If we can give a green light, we could, early enough, we could put an RFP out for architectural services,
We being who, if we did on the legislature,
whatever you choose, if you do the General Assembly or.
Either one, yeah.
Either one. They could put out a RFP for architectural services, sit down, you establish a committee that will review these RFPs, and you select an architect to continue on with this design, because you don't have that right now.
but we really can't do any of that until we get money appropriated.
But you could put the RFP out based on
So
funding availability on March.
Right. Yeah,
A month ahead, a month and a half ahead if you did that.
That would be great for anything that gets us ahead, so we can actually move once budget adjustment gets passed.
And you did have a little money.
We have a little bit that was appropriated to Janet.
Right, which is what I think this Janet was talking about earlier, when she said we had some money.
But you could also base it on approval from the General Assembly of the funding. And that this is your intent, is to move forward as soon as possible. And
But somebody has to get the authority to go forward, and we don't have standing off session to do that.
We could get it.
well, it could be.
I think it would take a-
January 1st.
Yeah, you can't act, the
Yeah.
joint fiscal committee can act on behalf of the legislature.
So maybe we'll have to find that out.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to find you.
I know, but we don't have the authority in
Right.
this committee to act when the legislature is not in session.
Yeah.
It's the joint fiscal committee that can act. I don't know
Right.
if joint management could do that or not.
Or joint rules.
And then to establish that
We
committee.
could find out between now and the 18th.
Yeah.
So the lineage of both things. We seem to have a ball rolling.
Yeah, and I think, Alice, to go to your, I mean, I think the fire is under our tuchuses to get as much done as fast as possible in as thoughtful a fashion as possible in the ARPA timeframe. And I think that's what Tricia is hearing us and saying, if you do X, Y, and Z, we can get it even,
Could pull some more
we can
time.
get much more.
I know, I don't disagree. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to find logistics, how to get out that RFP if we don't have any money, or if we have money and how we can free it up, because we cannot act to do that as this committee. That's where I'm coming from.
But we can make it contingent on money being passed.
Which I have done before.
And you're right, though, but we don't have the authority to ask for the.
That's right.
Right, we don't have.
Let's explore who does have that authority, and given we have a member of the Joint Fiscal Committee on this committee, maybe we can be teed up to ask to get the green light ahead of time.
So Tricia, why don't you and I, and maybe Janet Miller, connect and kind of figure this out? The next,
Joe, you on? Are you on?
I think that would be good.
you're on joint management,
On joint management.
and you weren't even meeting. Joint management isn't even meeting. Joint rules is meeting, I think. I'm not sure. Okay,
It takes a little while to write that RFP, put it out there. It takes a month for that.
Yeah,
and who would write
And
it?
writing it would be another half a month to a month before
So
that.
who, so that gets us to the end of,
To who?
so who would be doing all the writing? You?
Well, that's what my point before, what the General Assembly handled the Freeman French contract last, but usually it's a BGS thing. So is that, you're gonna be having BGS do this work, or, that's for you to decide.
are they here?
But then again, you have to establish this committee too, to review these RFPs, which is usually done through BGS, and they just say, okay, all these people are on the review for the RFP. So it depends on how deep you want to go into it and how much control and how you want that to work.
Well, let's, you and Janet Miller and I connect about the timeline, how we put together a timeline and the factors that are involved and who needs we possibly can do that before our next meeting. And let's talk a little bit about process for this RFP. And find out where the legislative authority would lie. Do that. And then we'll have a better idea of 2 weeks from now. So anything else before we adjourn for the day? We're all kind of wiped out.
No.
This committee tires you out.
Sure.
No, I thought that was, I think it's actually kind of energizing. It's exciting.
It is exciting.
I'm very, I'm very excited.
It's always fun. to
I have room 10 reserved for the next meeting on the 18th. Do you want to keep that? Or
Yes.
you want to be here?
Do room 10.
Or do you want to?
This room is so much nicer. You don't,
You can't hear with this thing back here. This is problematic.
Room 10,
Room 10, okay.
so the room 10 has less noise.
Yep, that carry into it.
You're right, there is this noise.
right back here.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Thank you, Alice.
Have a good weekend. It's a holiday weekend.
Is it?